On a quiet shopping street, Honoka Books glowed in the autumn sun. A signing event was about to begin. Fans clutched copies of Whispers in the Salt Breeze. The author Kazami Shion was expected, but the table stood empty. Then a young man with messy black hair stepped forward, carrying the same novel. He set it on the table, pen in hand.
Amateurs like you disgrace this store. We support real talent, not cosplayers.
Jin froze. His hand tightened around his book, his eyes widening behind his glasses.
A wannabe author cosplaying for attention? How pathetic.
Behind the counter, Riko watched. Her eyes lingered on the man's face, a faint unease stirring.
I only came to leave a...
I said out. You don't belong here.
The line of fans shifted, whispers rippling. Eyes darted between the owner and the silent man.
I only hope to sign 3 copies for fans who couldn't make it here today.
A fan signing from a nobody? Do you think anyone here would pay for your scribble?
At the counter, Riko backed away from the tense scene. Her fingers found her phone. A memory surfaced. A blurry photograph leaked on a publishing forum. The only candid shot of Kazami Shion. She swiped through her saved images until the familiar photo filled the screen. Her gaze flicked between the screen and the man frozen by the table.
It's him. The hair, the glasses. But why is he letting this happen?
She locked the phone and slipped it into her apron pocket, her hands trembling.
Even a devoted fan should know better. This store survives because of real talent. Kazami Shion keeps us alive.
Jin's jaw tightened, but he said nothing. The store's survival hung on the very name Yuko used to mock him.
This entire store runs on Kazami Shion's name. That display over there? 14 weeks at #1. That is real talent.
Jin's gaze drifted to the covered wall. The truth sat silent behind a white sheet. Riko slipped out from behind the counter. Her heart pounded, but her feet moved on their own.
So tell me, cosplayer, does your little autograph book save a store for a single quarter?
Riko's trembling hand reached for the white sheet that hid the store's biggest secret.
Riko, what do you think you're doing? Get back to the counter this instant.
I can't let her bury the truth. Not to him.
Jin turned his head slightly. For the first time, he looked directly at the blue-haired clerk. Her fingers closed around the fabric edge. One pull would change everything.
Riko, I will not ask again. Stop this nonsense.
Riko pulled with all her strength. The sheet fell, and the display wall turned to face the room. A massive photo of a young man with black hair and glasses, the exact image of the person Yuko had been mocking, dominated the display.
That's really him! Kazami Shion is in our store!
Yuko's arm dropped. The color drained from her face, leaving only the crimson of her glasses chain. Jin didn't move, but his eyes found Yuko's for a long, quiet moment. Silence crashed down. Not a single page rustled.
After all that, she was insulting the author himself.
From the side, Riko stepped back, her chest heaving, the weight of her actions settling on her shoulders. Jin opened his book. The gesture was calm, deliberate, as if the chaos had never touched him. The room held its breath, waiting for the first word to break the spell. Jin picked up the pen he had carried all morning. The nib touched the first title page without hesitation. He signed 3 copies in silence, each stroke crisp and unhurried, as if this were the day's only purpose.
He's really signing them, just as if none of this had happened.
Wait, please. I didn't mean. This is all a terrible misunderstanding.
Jin closed the last book, then pushed the neat stack of signed copies to the center of the table.
I'm so sorry. If I had known who you were, this never would have happened.
He looked up once. A single slight shake of his head, no anger, no satisfaction, just a refusal. Then he turned and walked toward the door, his coat brushing the shelves as if it were an ordinary exit.
He won't even accept an apology. This silence is heavier than any words.
The door swung shut. In the following silence, Yuko's outstretched hand slowly lowered to her side. The fans, murmuring among themselves, began to drift out of the store one by one. Yuko stood motionless, staring at the bestseller wall as if it had betrayed her. Riko quietly gathered the signed books from the table and placed them on the counter for safekeeping. That night, in the dim store, Yuko clutched her phone, dialing her publishing contact. On the other end, Sato hesitated. The silence stretched before he answered.
Sato-san, we need to discuss the launch event for Kazami Shion's next novel. Everything is still confirmed, right?
Actually, Yuko-san, Jin hasn't made a decision yet. He's reconsidering the venue.
Reconsidering? But we've hosted his events for 2 years. He can't just...
I'll let you know when he decides. For now, nothing is confirmed.
Yuko stared at the dead phone, the empty store around her feeling larger than ever. Morning light crept through the dusty windows. Yuko, still behind the counter, flinched when the phone rang. She saw Sato's name on the screen and answered with a trembling hand.
Yuko-san, Jin has made his decision. The next launch venue will be Tsukimi Books, effective immediately.
Tsukimi? That's not possible. We've hosted him for years. Why would he choose them?
He specifically asked for a bookstore that fosters a welcoming environment. His words, not mine.
Please, Sato-san, give me one chance to apologize. Let me speak to him directly.
He doesn't want to be contacted. This decision is final. I suggest you look elsewhere for your fall lineup.
The line went dead. Yuko's arm fell to her side, the phone dangling from her fingers. Through the window, 3 blocks away, Tsukimi Books glowed with morning customers, a new display banner already hung. Yuko stared across the street. Her own store felt like a shadow now, a place the world was leaving behind. A week passed. The bell above Honoka Book's door rang less each day. Riko dusted the same shelf twice, her hands moving without purpose. Only 2 customers had entered all morning.
This silence. It's my fault. If I hadn't turned the wall, maybe he'd have let it go.
That night in her cramped apartment, she dug through a box of old notebooks and letters.
I never told anyone I sent that letter. His words were the only thing that kept me writing.
Her fingers found a pale blue envelope, corners softened with age. Dear Kazami Shion, your novel saved me when I thought I had no voice of my own. I want to become an author because of you. This letter might never reach you, but your stories gave me a reason to try.
He never saw it. I was just another buried voice in his mountain of fan mail.
She folded the letter slowly, tucking it into her pocket, and stared out the small window at the distant city lights. In a quiet corner of the publishing office, Sato sorted through a mountain of unread fan mail. A pale blue envelope surfaced among the letters. The return address, Riko Aizawa. He unfolded the paper inside, its creases worn soft. Your book made me want to write again. Because of you, I haven't given up. Sato set the letter down. The name clicked, the blue-haired clerk who'd turned the display wall. He reached for the phone, dialing Jin's personal line without pause. Jin answered, his voice thin with distraction.
Jin, I found a letter from Riko Aizawa, the clerk at Honoka Books. She wrote it years ago. She says your novels made her want to become an author. It's more than just a fan letter.
The one who turned the wall read it to me. I want to hear it.
Sato began reading, and Jin leaned back in the dark, the words filling the space between them like a second quiet presence. When Sato's voice stopped, the silence on Jin's end stretched so long that Sato checked the connection.
Did she ever write anything of her own? A story? A sketch? Anything?
She submitted a short story to a contest years ago. It didn't win, but the files are still in the system.
Dig it up. I want to read it tonight.
I'll pull it now and send it over. Give me an hour.
The line clicked off. An hour later, Jin's laptop pinged with a new email from Sato. He opened the attachment. The title page bore a simple name, The Salt Rider by Riko Aizawa. He stared at the screen, unmoving. Beside his laptop, the letter photo Sato had sent earlier still glowed on his phone, her earnest handwriting filling the dark room.
So this is the voice that letter promised. Let's see if it's real.
With a slow breath, he scrolled past the title page, and the first lines of her prose appeared in the silent apartment. Hours passed. Jin read until the night blurred into dawn, the only light the glow of the screen.
It's not polished, but I haven't seen this much honesty in a manuscript in years.
He typed a question in the margin and a small note. This part made me stop reading. That means it's good. He leaned back as the sun touched the rooftops, the last page of her story still open on the screen. That morning, Riko unlocked the bookstore door. Yuko was already inside, staring at a ledger.
We're down to 2 months, Riko. If foot traffic doesn't recover, Honoka Books won't survive the spring.
This is my fault. If I hadn't exposed her, maybe we'd still have his launch. If the store closes. What was any of this for? He never even looked back.
Her thumb hovered over the screen. No messages, no calls. The silence felt permanent. Across the city, Jin stared at the last page, his hand hovering over the keyboard not to write, but to wonder.
Sato, the manuscript, it's raw, but there's a real voice. Arrange a meeting with the writer. Don't tell her I'm behind this. Let the work stand on its own.
Understood. I'll call Riko Aizawa right away and invite a full submission.
In the quiet of the bookstore, Riko's phone buzzed against the counter, shattering the stillness.
Hello? This is Riko Aizawa.
Ms. Aizawa, my name is Sato, editor at Hayakawa Publishing. A short story of yours was recently brought to our attention. We'd like to invite you to submit a full novel for consideration. Your voice is one we want to hear more of.
This is real? After all this time, someone actually read my work?
Very real. I'll email you the submission guidelines. Take your time, but we're eager to read what you create.
That evening, Riko sat at her cramped desk, a blank document open, and for the first time in months, her fingers moved with purpose. 6 months blurred past. Riko wrote through endless nights while a store closing notice yellowed on Honoka Books' door. Then an envelope from Hayakawa Publishing. Her novel, The Salt Writer, had been accepted.
It's really out there. My name on a shelf. Even if the old store is gone, this story lives.
At a literary mixer, Riko stood by the window, the buzz of conversation blending with the clink of glasses.
Did you hear? Kazami Shion championed her manuscript personally. Without him, this deal never would have happened.
Kazami Shion? That's Jin. After everything I did, after the wall, he did this for me?
Her hands trembled around the glass. The voices around her faded into a dull hum.
He never knew about my letter. Why would he, unless he found out?
She set her glass down and slipped toward the exit, pulse hammering in her ears. Outside, the night air hit her. She needed to find him, to ask, to thank, to understand. The day of the debut signing, Tsukimi Books hummed like a festival. A line of readers wrapped past the shelves, each holding a copy of The Salt Writer. Riko's pen danced across title pages, her smile steadier now than it had been in months. The closing of Honoka Books felt like a distant scar. The crowd shifted, and a familiar brown coat stepped through the door. No announcement, no escort, just Jin, holding her novel. He joined the line, waiting without a word, until the last fan stepped aside and he stood before her table.
Would you sign this for a fan?
Riko's pen stopped mid-stroke. She looked up and the world shrank to the face of the man she'd turned a wall for.
It's really you. After all this time.
A single tear slipped down her cheek, tracing the same path as the ink that had dried on 100 title pages before. Jin didn't move, his eyes steady on hers, the open book between them a silent witness. She tried to speak, but her voice caught in her throat, a knot of gratitude, guilt, and a question she'd carried since the day he walked out without looking back.
Jin? Wait.
But he already lifted the pen from her grasp, the same pen she'd used all morning, and opened her book to the title page. He signed his name under hers, Kazami Shion, in the exact same spot where a fan would have wanted hers. He closed the cover, slid the book back across the table, and met her eyes one last time.
You already saved yourself. I just opened the door.
Riko's lips parted, but no sound came. The words she'd rehearsed shattered against the simplicity of his. He turned away. No pause, No glance back, the same quiet exit he'd made the first time they met. Her hand shot out, fingers grazing the air above the table, but she didn't call after him. The brown coat disappeared into the crowd. The line of fans shifted, waiting, unaware of the universe that had just passed between them. Riko slowly pulled the book close. Her trembling finger traced the fresh ink of his name beside her own. Riko slipped out the back of the bookstore. She knew where he would be. Under the ginkgo trees, Jin sat alone on a park bench, a page of manuscript on his knee. She sat at the far end. For a long moment, neither spoke.
You followed me.
I had to. I couldn't just let you vanish again.
Her words weren't what hurt. It was the fear that my work wasn't real.
He stared at the fading sunlight, saying what he'd never told anyone.
I wrote you a letter once. For years I've been writing to you in my head.
Their eyes met. The distance between them on the bench felt like an old habit, not a wall. A single autumn leaf spiraled down and landed on the page between them. Neither moved to brush it away. Inside the hollowed shell of Honoka Books, Yuko stacked boxes of unsold novels. The for lease sign had hung in the window for a month. In the back storage, buried under old order forms, she uncovered a cardboard box labeled fan mail, undelivered. Her breath caught when she saw the pale blue envelope, the handwriting achingly familiar. Your book saved me. I want to become an author because of you. Please keep writing. Her own reflection stared back from the window, a bitter woman who had crushed the very voices she'd claimed to protect. She tore a blank page from an old ledger and wrote 3 short lines, her hand shaking. She folded it once and set it on the counter, anchoring it with a dusty paperweight shaped like an open book. Without a backward glance, she picked up her bag and walked to the door. The bell above the door chimed one last time. On the counter, beneath the paperweight, the note waited. I was wrong. Riko, your voice matters more than my pride ever did. Yuko. Riko stood outside Honoka Books. The for lease sign cast a thin shadow. She hadn't planned to return. The door creaked open. Dust floated in the stale air. Her footsteps echoed on bare wood. At the counter, the paperweight caught her eye. She recognized Yuko's handwriting immediately. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the note. She read it twice, her throat tightening. She pressed the note to her chest. The silence no longer felt empty. It felt earned. She took the forgotten ballpoint from the counter and wrote 3 lines below Yuko's signature. Thank you for the push. I needed it. Riko. From her bag, she pulled a fresh copy of the Salt Writer and set it beside the note. She stepped back, letting the cover face the door, a small, quiet monument to what had passed. Then she walked out. The bell didn't ring, but the door closed with a soft click, sealing the past inside. 1 year later, a packed literary hall hummed with anticipation. Jin and Riko took the stage together, 2 chairs angled toward a moderator. They spoke easily now, their words overlapping in a rhythm they'd built over the months.
A question for both of you. Are you a couple? The readers want to know.
We're partners in words. That's the only label that matters.
Partners, just like you said that day in the park.
She glanced at him then, a secret thing passing through her eyes. The audience murmured, but Jin's answer stood unlabeled, yet more solid than any public confession. Later, in a quiet cafe off stage, they sat across from each other as they had on that park bench. Neither spoke of the question. The silence between them was a shared language now. Outside the window, a soft rain began to fall, streaking the glass like pages of a manuscript turning. Later, they climbed to the rooftop balcony. The city spread below them, a blanket of quiet lights.
When I first saw your novel, I only knew one thing. I had to write back.
He held out the old fan letter, soft at the edges, the handwriting unchanged.
Sato found it in a pile of unread mail. I've kept it since that night.
It really reached him. All this time, my words were under his roof.
You didn't just save yourself. You reminded me what real words are.
She leaned her head against his shoulder. The letter rested between them, a bridge that no longer needed words. Jin's hand moved lightly to the railing, his fingers curling beside hers. No kiss, No declaration, just the quiet truth that they had each other's beginnings. The city hummed below, a million stories untold. This one, they'd written together. As sunrise touched the rooftops, workers hung a new marquee on the old Honoka Books storefront. The sign read Kazami and Aizawa Literary Cafe. Neither Jin nor Riko had opened it. A stranger, moved by their words, had created it in their name. Inside, morning customers browsed, and the scent of coffee and old paper filled the space that once held dust. In Jin's apartment, Riko sat at his desk, the same keyboard she'd once dreamed before. Jin set a cup of tea beside her. The cup's shadow fell across her manuscript pages. 2 pens rested on the desk, one dark, one blue, points aligned as if they'd always been a pair. On the shelf, their novels stood together, spines touching. The morning light filled the quiet room, and the world outside felt far. Down the street, the new cafe opened its doors, a small piece of their story now a place for others. A story that began with a single cruel word now held open doors. A small finger traced the spines, whispers in the salt breeze beside the salt writer. A child pulled the pastel blue book from the shelf and held it up to her mother. The mother smiled and took the book, settling into a corner chair to read aloud. Through the glass, an older woman in a barista apron, Yuko, wiped the counter slowly. Her hands, once quick to judge, now dusted book spines with quiet care. She paused, watching the child turn a page, and a faint smile touched her lips. The cafe hummed softly, coffee, pages, and the murmur of new stories taking root. The 2 novels sat together on a shelf, their spines forever aligned. Outside, the evening light caught the marquee, casting the names Kazami and Aizawa in gold. The bookstore was gone, but the words remained.